Thank you so much, Nelanie, and thank you for honoring me with the ability to speak with everyone again tonight. I hope that there'll be some time for me to do my activity, but in this role, it is first my duty to go to each of the facilitators and open up a space for them to kind of summarize and report back what happened in our individual groups. I, for one, truly enjoyed the group that I was in this evening and the discussion. And frankly, we could have gone for probably another hour. It was a really rich discussion. So I will start with asking Natalie to share what happened in her group, because I know she has another shindig she's going to get to. So looking forward to hearing from you, Natalie.
And you know, there are three Natalies in this meeting tonight.
I
That
know that.
is powerful in and of itself. So thank you so much, David, for starting this process. And I know everyone's in for a treat when you take a step further into the exercise. But we had wonderful conversation in our breakout room, as you alluded to. They say art reflects life, and art also gives life. And in our room, we talked about art being the closest thing to being vulnerable in public, because it is something that you express or create, and it takes courage to then put that forth. And we heard some of the concerns from our opening speaker about, should I do this, or how would it be received? But there is freedom in art and so much power. We talked about the fact that imagery, in terms of media, is very powerful. And we drew and looked at the contrast between the images of the first campaign launched by Barack Obama, and that image of a man's silhouette with multiple colors reflected across one silhouette with a single word, hope. And that just triggered multi-generational, multi-racial response in such an amazing way. And the contrast to that imagery was the fly during the vice presidential debate that stole the show and blew up on social media in a single night. That fly really told us a different story. So we see that imagery used in media and otherwise is so powerful. We reflect on the fact that one of our speakers, who's so wise, really shared that art or freedom of expression is the highest form of evolution. And art is the essence of this stage of evolution and development. Yet it is the thing that is cut in terms of school and education curriculum and focus. It's the first thing that's eliminated. And then so it removes from our students, and they are deprived of the opportunities to learn how to create in their own way, to think outside of the box, because with art, there is no wrong or approach. There is only the question that follows, tell me about what you were thinking when you created this. And that opens the door to so much more. Yet we reflect on the fact that we have power that we need to pay attention to. When we talk about social media and the effect of campaigns, we didn't dwell on the campaigns that we saw in terms of the pickets and the phraseology. We stuck with the images. But we also thought about the fact that one of our group members said ratings for Fox has dropped considerably during this time. Now, you and I would say, well, that's a good thing. But our colleague in the room said, well, it troubles me because then I wonder where those people are going. Because for them, Fox represented a certain type of journalism or fantasism. And if they are not getting that from there, how deep are they going in layers of other far right media that we can't see and hear because they are less visible and less accessible? Where is our power? Our power is in social media, because we can be the power of the masses on the ground, right? We can speak the way we want to speak. We can illustrate the way we want to illustrate. In our group, our woman of wisdom said, think kindly, but act boldly. This is up to us to continue to influence what we want to see and hear in the media. And so this space that we hold today is time that we need to reflect on where we go from here in terms of our expression, the areas of art, the words, the dance, the song, the media, and the way we communicate. Do we accept media as it is? I think we can change it. We have the power to change the way we want to receive and share information. And I think the opportunity is at hand. There is a movie that one of our uh, in our breakout room, the Idiocracy. I've not seen it, but it sounds very interesting. Idiocracy. It's the dumbing down of America. And I think at this time, we really need to take advantage of those things that make us happy and bright, allows us to express how we feel, but also empowers us to do more in the space that we have. So I just want to thank everyone who was in my room. We are just really happy to be in this space. This space means so much for us to be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Beautifully summarized and articulated. Appreciate all of that. Marie, are you ready to share? Marie Failer? Maybe she can't hear. Maybe the volume's down. Oh, you're there. There, you're there.
Oh, I'm muted. Thank you very much. I had a dynamic West Coast group, two of whom are from Portland. And it so happens that my nephew is in Oregon and his daughter is in Portland. So that was really interesting. One of the things we brought up, I think, is this whole idea about the cities, and the media is giving the information that the cities are dead. They people here who really believe that the city has been burned down. And so I get visual, I'm part of the nature park, uh, the park conservancy, and I get images of people walking around the Central Park. And I say, no, I think things are okay. And then, of course, Melanie lives in the city, and I say, she seems okay to me. And so, but then Portland too, they're getting this terrible. The cities are getting this terrible bad rap. And the group brought up the idea that there, yes, things are boarded up. The graffiti tells a story. The graffiti is expressing people's, their soul, their emotions, and that there should be someone. There are a lot of places, documentaries, places in Oregon that perhaps could be encouraged to do something about the graffiti in cities, to bring that back and to give us the idea that they are alive and they will continue to live, and they're not gone. I mean, that sense of hope. And it's just, for people in the suburbs, anyway, it seems ridiculous to me, and we all agreed on that. The other thing that was brought up that I have never heard in my entire life is the FUD factor in advertising, and where you totally, what is it? It's the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that you give to people so that your product gets rid of all of those things. And that's so surprised me, but it's just a basic thing in marketing. And And it seems like we were all looking at the fact that, that sense of community, um, we're working to bring that back. And this connecting the dots is giving us, and other things are giving us the opportunity to bring that back with art, with museums, with singing. And then there was a term that was brought up, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to check it out later. It's called spitting, and it's a way of teenagers expressing themselves and communicating, and it itself is an art form. So this is kind of all over the place, but it was an exciting dynamic group, and I hope I represented them in a small way. That's
You
it.
did indeed. Thank you so much, Marie. Really appreciate you sharing all of that. Let's see, Jerome, would you please go next?
Absolutely, and here I am. So I had also a very dynamic group with many feedback. It was really an exciting discussion. We could have talked for hours, of course. So, and a few themes emerged. I mean, first, in my group, or I would say in our group, we started to dive a little bit on the first set of questions, which is really the availability of art. And it was interesting how things emerged, because it emerged from really almost orthogonal views. I mean, in one hand, some people expressed that, of course, with the COVID situation, the accessibility to art has changed dramatically. Obviously, we cannot walk to an art gallery, we cannot meet the artist as we used to. We cannot have this exposure to spaces that essentially allows us to bring our emotion to the surface. We were talked about, for example, spaces that are inhabitable and that artists transform in a way that are very emotional and that you can visit and see, and this is not possible now. Also, lots of people said that they miss music, dance, shows, live performance. We talked also about perhaps sculpture that also needs to be experienced from different point of view. But on the other side, and I thought that was a very interesting positive point, is that now, because indeed we have somewhat took a step back from being exposed or touched the art to some extent, and not only being touched by art, is that there have been programs that try to bring art into the virtual space. And that to some extent has created new opportunities, because it has exposed art to a wider audience. It has brought art to perhaps a Zoom meeting, but a Zoom meeting that, everybody can attend. So suddenly art is free for people who may not have been exposed to art before. And so that's one aspect of how art perhaps it becomes more available. And of course, I encourage people to find those art expo that indeed I have seen on the internet. But there is also this idea that art, people have started also to bring art to the street in a public space, in a more open space for everybody to view. So at the end, I think that the conclusion is that art in this situation of COVID is on a kind of a transformative journey. It is changing the way that it is being told. And that's one important part. But another thing is that now we touch a little bit on the second set of questions and that join a little bit the other group feedback, is this kind of media and influence and art imagery and how it influence us. And I think the point here was that art can be used in a very constructive way, right? I mean, we have seen commercial that basically try to sensitize people for the HIV, or try to reduce bias, or try to show us how the rights of LGBTQ, or perhaps imagery even that says save the planet and so on. All of those are very powerful imagery, and to some extent bring contribution to basically build a better society. But on the other side of the coin, the media campaign have a huge responsibility, of course, and they are sometimes sometimes always trying to maximize profit. And if maximizing profit, meaning budgetary profit, equates to maximizing social benefit, then it would be really constructive. But unfortunately, sometimes it is not. And we have seen the expression of that, of using imagery, powerful imagery that basically bring emotional turmoil in the political campaign, and how indeed someone can be elected by using proper imagery of, I don't know, hordes of whoever invading the country that has essentially influenced a lot of voters. But we also somewhat touch the fact of, how do we deal with this? Perhaps this kind of influence of art on us. And perhaps one of the suggestions from a scientist was that we have to focus also on the intent of the person expressing an opinion, and through art is essential. We need to be able to recognize the intent. And to do that, perhaps we can almost take a artistic, the way that we approach art, right? We observe, we try to reflect on the intent, we take a step back, and we try to bring basically the intent into picture and into an objective. So I think we had a lot, and what is the objective? And I think we had a lot of discussion around that also, about the intent. And it was really a wonderful discussion. And as I say, I wish we would have had more time. And that's what I would like to summarize from the team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerome. Very nice work capturing some very complex ideas. So appreciate that. We have one more person. It's Francis. So if you are ready, I'd love to have you take us home.
Sure, we had
Dr. Clifton. I never know what you want to be referred to as. So
Francis, I don't like doctor at all.
Okay, Francis.
But yeah, we started off by looking at art as the most ineffable of fields in the history of mankind, and words oftentimes fails to articulate the true art, where it has the ability to deal with a quantitative and qualitative thing at the same time. We can see, talked about a group of an artist who put up 500 pictures of passports from the Middle East. And these were the time when the Middle East was being vilified in every way. And you could see the individual people, but you could see in the whole, the total underlying humanity of these people that we weren't looking as people. So art has this ability to get to the ineffable and mysterious, but also to evoke, a deep emotion inside ourselves. And then we move to the idea that it takes courage to express, and a lot of people pick up many impressions of what's going on, and they have to find the courage to find a means to express it. And I think what differentiates an artist from sensitive people is the artist is sort of mandated. He's sort of ordained to find a way to express the impress. And if he doesn't express the impress, he gets depressed. And that's, and we can also as a culture get depressed because we're not really expressing, the inner truth of, like, I'm not sure we ever expressed the inner truth of the Constitution, but so that moving away, but and then we talked about motives of what was going on in art. So if a person has a true artist, the arts, art knows more than the artist knows. So, but if you create a campaign and you want to put across an idea and use images, it's extremely powerful and authentic. But that has intention, total intention to create something, and that's not the same thing as art. Art is expression. We talked about different forms of art, poetry. One of the people in our group ran an improvisational group, and she would train these people in facing their inhibitions and in finding a true way to express themselves. So that's a true path towards authenticity and feeling comfort with that. And when people are able to do that, it's they're becoming more themselves. person more themselves can have a chance of speaking authentically. So it was, it was a moving discussion that could have gone on forever. And I thank everyone for participating. And I certainly profited from it. So that's all. So it was, thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis. And thanks to all four of you for facilitating, doing a great job doing that, and also for rejoining the group and summarizing it for all of us, which we all benefit from. So I'm going to do about a 5-minute meditation exercise. Before I do that, I'd love to just say a couple of quick words about this. I mean, literally could talk for a whole day about this, but the intersection between art and social justice, art and activism, art and why we've all even come together in this place to have a dialogue with one another. I think art can be reflection, art can be expression, art can be communication of so many things: outrage, passion, love, fear, hatred, compassion. Art can be so many things. And in a large sense, art can be inspiration. And it's that connection to the ability to communicate things, to maybe change beliefs, change ideas. As I think it may have been actually Ty who said earlier, not exactly this, but something to the effect that art can sometimes communicate in ways that words cannot. And I think that's really powerful. Now, I've been in leadership facilitator and professor and coach for about 6 years, but I spent almost 22 years before that training and practicing in the arts as an actor, as a writer, as an art director, as an executive producer. And for almost 10 years, I leveraged all of that to create impact-focused campaigns for a huge media company. So I know what we're discussing here is so important. But there's one thing in that first paragraph that I would point to as I kind of transition into doing a mindfulness activity. And that for me, I've practiced mindfulness or meditation. I don't get hung up on the terms, whatever you want to call it. I've practiced this for 30 years because for me, it was what enabled me to exist as an artist and to also be able to have the right to be able to use with intention art so that I can help drive social justice and impact. And there's the question in that first paragraph, what kind of art is readily available or accessible for you to partake of? When I saw that, I thought of a million things I could say, but I immediately thought, what if we flip that? Because this gets to the heart of what I'm talking about tonight. What if we said, what kind of art are you readily available and accessible to experience? And I think that's really important when we're thinking about how we can exist in this fraught period that we're in and how we might have our own impact. And someone when I was very young who inspired me to go into kind of a life in the arts was Jim Henson. I just find his imagination so huge. He had such an impact on me as the ability to inspire me. And there's a quote that is, I think, the perfect transition into a mindfulness activity. There's a quote from him. This is something he said before he passed away. I don't know exactly where ideas come from, but when I'm working well, ideas just appear. I've heard other people say similar things. So it's one of the ways I know there's help and guidance out there. It's just a matter of figuring out how to receive the ideas or information that are waiting to be heard. Now, to me, that just blew me away when I read that, I heard him say it at one time. And I think, yeah, that's where it's at. How present and engaged are we with the world around us? And someone in our group mentioned, we talk about art tonight, but what about the beauty of the stars? What about the beauty of just the environment around us, other people, the grass, buildings, urban environments, nature? For me, inspiration is a matter of a small percentage of something that's coming from within me, and a huge percentage of inspiration and creativity comes from my ability to be receptive to all there is out there. sounds, sights, smells, tastes, experiences. So there's no way for me to have that openness to the world around me and openness to other ideas, which can drive empathy and hopefully compassionate behavior without my being open to it. So it's that spirit that I have practiced mindfulness for so long. And with that, if you would join me for about 5 minutes, I would love to take you through the mindfulness activity that I have done for almost 30 years. If it suits you and you can sit down with a kind of a straight posture and your feet flat on the ground and close your eyes, I would love it if you just focus for the first few, maybe 20, 30 seconds on your breathing. And if you would put your hand on your belly, and you could see as you breathe in and breathe out, is your hand rising and falling on your belly? Or are you breathing really from your chest? Where maybe if you are, it'd be great to lower your breathing to your core and start with that belly rising and falling. And if you would just take 2 really long inhale and exhale. And one more inhale and exhale. And now if you could shift your focus back to regular breathing, you don't have to be so hyper-focused on your breath, but you can keep your eyes closed. I ask that you shift your focus to your sense of smell and focus everything you have on that sense of smell, as if you're smelling for the very first time. Wonderful. Now, if you would just shift your focus back to the breath, going in and out of your body. And if you would, I ask that you shift your focus to your sense of touch. So maybe your bottom on your chair, your feet on the floor, your skin inside your clothes, and focus all of your attention on your sense of touch as if you're feeling for the very first time. Beautiful. Now shift your breathing, shift your attention back to your breathing for just a few moments. And when you're ready, I'd like you to shift your attention, all your focus to your sense of hearing. Really reach out with your hearing. Maybe you hear something outside or down the hall or even in the room with you, and really focus on your sense of hearing as if you're hearing for the very first time. Wonderful. Thank you. Now shift your focus back on your breath for just a moment. And when you're ready, go ahead, please shift all of your focus to your sense of taste. You can move your tongue around your mouth. Maybe there's some something there from lunch or on your lips or a crumb in the corner. Just move all of your focus and attention on your sense of taste as if you're tasting for the very first time. Excellent. Thank you. Now, if you would, please shift your focus when you're ready to your sense of sight. Would you just gently open your eyes and find something on the screen, on the desk in front of you, or the room in front of you, on the ceiling, the floor. If you let your eyes fall upon something and take in the world through your sense of sight as if you're seeing for the very first time. Very good. So when you're ready, let's shift your attention back to your breath. And I'd love for each of you to take 2 deep breaths, including an inhale and an exhale. Now breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And when you're ready, you can shake it out. You can do a little bit of a stretch, whatever you like. For me, especially when I was an artist or an actor, I had to go on stage, or whether I walk into a big meeting for a pitch, or I'm about to enter in or engage in a conversation that's important but potentially contentious or challenging, like some of the topics we discuss here. This is a wonderful way that I have spent the last 30 years preparing myself to be open and receptive to all of the inputs that may exist in the world around me. So thank you so much for doing that with me. And thanks, Nalini and the whole team from Connecting the Dots for inviting me to participate in this way. I truly appreciate it.